This has to be the most beautiful fragrance Gucci have launched in a long time. Hello everyone and welcome back to Nostalgia Scents. I went ahead and finally got myself Gucci Mémoire d'une odeur. Only when I heard it was being discontinued and I panicked. And this is not the first time I'm doing this. So again, another discontinued scent. I've got a lot of them. Anyway, this is a very beautiful scent that when it was launched fairly early in 2019, it wasn't received well at all by most people. I don't know why. But I have an idea why, because it's not a flashy gourmand amber, that's why. Because it's a fresh white floral, simple, minimalistic, and achingly beautiful. That's why, and because the majority of fragrance consumers do not have taste. I said it. And those are the people who are buying the fragrances, and those are the people who are dictating the releases, whether we want to or not. Whatever brands release, most of them are catered to the tasteless majority. Okay. Now, before I get cancelled over calling everybody tasteless, Gucci Mémoire d'une odeur was not well received, and it's a shame because now it's being discontinued. I think it's just being discontinued because it isn't selling. It's one of the most beautiful bottles I've ever seen, period, in a fragrance. It's so Gucci. Look at this color scheme, right? It's so Gucci. It's so... You cannot get any more Gucci than this. And it was done by Morillas, usual things like that. It's a fairly simple scent. When I first smelled it, I loved it because I perceived it as a very bitter, and it is that, a very bitter, unusual type of white floral scent. I didn't know about its notes. I haven't looked. I wasn't able to isolate anything else than orange blossom. In my opinion, I was smelling orange blossom, and I still think it's true to some extent. But it's a very, it's that type of plasticky white floral scent, which to me is very nostalgic indeed, because we are talking about nostalgic scents. Now, what's there to be nostalgic about Mémoire d'une odeur other than its name, right? The memory of a scent. Well, two things. Well, actually one thing, but with a tangent. So, what's there to be nostalgic about Mémoire d'une odeur other than its name? It's this one. This little fragrance, which is such a unicorn, so long gone, and such a beautiful scent. So we will be talking about this as well, and with a tangent, which is Van Cleef&Arpels, Gardénia Pétale. But first, let's describe Gucci Mémoire d'une odeur. This fragrance is quite unusual when it comes to white florals because, as I said, it's quite bitter, it's plasticky, it has this bug spray sort of feel, right? It's this sort of like an 80s fragrance. The florals are sort of velvety, but not too overt, not too carnal, not too overpowering. This is still, even with those vibes, this is still a fresh, see-through and very delicate scent. It has nothing of the power of the, powerhouses of the 80s florals, not at all. This is still a musky, soothing scent, because this reminds me a lot of herbal tea, and it reminds me of herbal tea because of its very pronounced chamomile note. And this has a chamomile note that's, again, vegetal, herbal, green, bitter, right? And I should say the color of the bottle, I think it's very well chosen because of the chamomile. Essential oil of chamomile is blue. I don't know if you knew that. So chamomile yields a bluish essential oil. Now, I wore this. I gave it some wears, and it wears fantastically. Whenever I'm wearing it, it's like I'm enveloped in this very soothing cocoon of sheer white florals, where jasmine, and when I say jasmine now, but in my mind it's still orange blossom. I don't know why I perceive it this way. Maybe there's some truth to it, or maybe it's not. It's just my imagination. Maybe it's just my nose that's faulty, but I still envision orange blossom here without the fragrance being very citrusy. And bitter vegetal chamomile. There's a very familiar musky scent to this, which is, as I said, it's warm and familiar, and it's clean. It's not dirty or anyway, but it does help with this fragrance feels like an embrace, right? It's like embracing another person that's wearing this fragrance. Also, it does remind me of a very dear friend that wears and loves this fragrance, so that might also be a factor, but it just wears so well, and its staying power is great on clothing and on myself. I felt myself in the evenings when I came home from work, and I felt it still, and I feel it still on a scarf from a couple of wears. And it also, on that scarf, it overpowers other fragrances, so that's interesting. It's a very, very good fragrance. Now let's talk about the nostalgia behind this, which is because it reminds me of this 2007 Francis Kurkdjian flanker for Jean Paul Gaultier Le Male. There it is, which is Fleur du Male. And this completely white bottle is very telling of how this fragrance smells. If you don't know what this smells like, well, it's an ode to a slightly ambery orange blossom that's very white floral chamomile with bitter vegetal musky facets to it. It is stunningly beautiful and complex for such a minimalistic fragrance done in Francis Kurkdjian's style. Everything is just so beautifully blended. It's very hard to pull apart, but what stands out is the delicateness of the white floral quality and the delicateness of the orange blossom, and how it's amped up by this bitter. I do love bitter chamomile in this. The bitter chamomile helps a lot, and also the woody parts, the sandalwood, everything's there. It just sort of unique, right? But I am so happy that Mémoire d'une odeur manages to remind me so well of Fleur du Male so well. They're similar enough that kind of brings this beautiful fragrance of the past to mind. Now there's another fragrance, and again, I'm not saying they just have some things in common. They're not terribly similar. This is Gardénia Pétale from Van Cleef&Arpels, and this is a fragrance I smelled a few years ago, and I was just in awe with how beautiful not the gardenia is, but the orange blossom. And again, this is a fragrance that reminds me of Fleur du Male. Again, because it's that same vegetal, musky, white floral, atypical, very atypical white floral that's also bug sprayy and plasticky, and this one is more powdery. This one, I think, reminds me a bit of a heliotrope type of smell, but I think, because you know the gardenia is also quite present, and it's that mushroomy type of gardenia. That's, you know, this one is more carnal. This is not sheer and transparent as Mémoire d'une odeur or Fleur du Male. This is much more carnal, but it's still a beautiful orange blossom with citrusy and petit grain type of very delicate citrusy like smells. I love this a lot, and I do not wear it enough, that's for sure. I do not wear this enough, although to be honest, I did put quite a dent in it. But you know, this collection, Collection Extraordinaire by Van Cleef&Arpels, is very underrated. Do give them a few sniffs, because there are some fragrances here that might, you know, might surprise you. They are very beautifully done. And this was done by Nathalie Feisthauer. So we've got 3 perfumers today: Nathalie Feisthauer, Francis Kurkdjian, and Alberto Morillas, that, you know, just happened to make scents that are kind of in the same ballpark, kind of. So, you know, this is still available, Gardénia Pétale, as far as I know. So this was no longer in production, sadly, but can still be found. Fleur du Male is so expensive on eBay, it's not even worth it. For Fleur du Male, there is, yeah, I should shut up because it's discontinued as well. It was A Pomme Homme from Maison Francis Kurkdjian. It's discontinued as well. I should shut up. But you know, 3 fragrances done in 3 fairly different ways that kind of have this common thing running through all of them. And to me, they are both very nostalgic, and I love them so much, and I am very happy I finally got this Mémoire d'une odeur. It will be right at home, together with the other discontinued fragrances that I have. So if you've got any other questions, do let me know in the comments, and until next time, remember, fragrance creates memories, and may yours be happy.